Welcome to Cape Fear Business Roundtable. I'm your host, Frank Williams. As you know, this podcast normally focuses on local businesses, but we are going to occasionally take a look at a local nonprofit that has an impact in our community. And today is the first guest of that sort. We have Jason Gaver, who is the Executive Director of Brunswick County Habitat for Humanity. Jason, thank you for joining us.
Frank, thanks for the opportunity. Good to see you, sir.
Likewise. And before we get into the questions that we have for Jason, I do want to talk about our two sponsors, which are two branding partners located under one roof here in Leland. The first is Pioneer Strategies, which is a strategic communication firm. Pioneer Strategies team can help you with everything from web design to social media marketing to traditional public relations to digital advertising to designing a new logo. Their mission statement is building success through effective strategic communication. If you're looking for a communication partner to help you build success and achieve your goals, reach out to Pioneer Strategies. Their sister company under the same roof is Pioneer Specialties, a promotional products company, and they have access to over 1 million products from 4,300 suppliers worldwide. That's important because they can help you find products you don't even know to search for, and you're not going to know to look for those if you go online. And when they place the order, the Pioneer Specialties team manages the entire process for you. You can find links to both companies on our website at capefearbusiness.com. So with that out of the way, Jason, thank you again for joining us. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And I like to, before I get into work, talk a little bit about non-work because we live in a great part of the state, as you
Yeah, we
know.
did.
So what is your favorite non-work related either place to go or thing to do in southeastern North Carolina?
Well, Frank, we are known for our beaches and our tourism. I will tell you that Oak Island is my sanctuary. I think that there's something special about that beach in particular. Maybe it's because it's south facing. Maybe it's the people of Oak Island. I don't know, but you can find me there quite often. That's my rest and relaxation place.
I love Oak Island, although I'm the kind of person who prefers to go when no one else is there so I can fish, which is
Amen.
getting rarer and rarer. But I like to
Yeah, no
go and
doubt.
fish, and it seems like I don't do as much of that as I would like to. Well, jumping in, as I mentioned, you're our first nonprofit guest that we've had since we started this podcast, and I believe that nonprofits and community organizations are a big part of what makes a community a great place to live. And while certainly there are people on staff at your organization, a lot of your help comes from volunteers who help you because they want to, not because they have to. And I think
That's right.
that's when you know you're successful. But tell us a little bit about Brunswick County Habitat for Humanity. Obviously, you're part of a larger group. Talk about the local chapter and what your mission and vision and your desired impact are.
It's a really great question, Frank. We've been around since 1993 in Brunswick County. As you noted, we are an affiliate of Habitat for Humanity International. And really, the easiest way to describe what Habitat is our job and our mission, we are a 501c. We are a ministry, is to impact affordable housing. And for us, it's right here in Brunswick County. We do that a few different ways. We operate 3 restores in the county. Leland, which we just built, opened in March, a 15,000 square foot store there, really cements our position in Leland. We have a second store in Southport down by the Oak Island Jetport, and we have a store in Ocean Isle Beach. So we try to disperse those stores around the county. Those operate by taking in donations from folks just like you or I, maybe clean out a storage unit or you have a rental property or whatever it may be. Gently used items, we'll take them in, we'll clean them up, we'll test them, and then we'll put them out on the sales floor. The other things that we do when we talk about first-time home buyers, all of our constituents are residents of Brunswick County here, and those are folks that I think there's a misconception, Frank. Habitat for Humanity works with our partner families to help them achieve home ownership. And we do that through partnering with them. And then they have to be a working member of this community. These are folks that just need a hand up, not a handout. And through our mechanisms and through our partnerships, that's how we do that.
I know you touched briefly on this, but some people have the false misconception that that you just give somebody a house, and that's not at all how it works. Can you talk about some of the investment, both in time and other things, that a habitat homeowner has to make in order to go through this process with you?
Yeah, this is my favorite question. So there's 3 criteria to be a partner family with us. The first one is you have to live work or worship right here in Brunswick County for at least 1 year. You have to have a housing need. And that need, Frank, is subjective to us. It can be anything from you're living in an apartment and the rent is going up and you can't afford it. It could be you are a senior citizen who is living with a family member and maybe they're having another child and there's nowhere for you to go. It could be that you live somewhere that has substandard housing. So, we frequently have storms here and water damage is not something that we're not familiar with. So it could be that your house was damaged by water and you just can't fix it. Those types of things. Or homelessness. I mean, we run the gamut, but that need is up to us, right? And the third piece of the puzzle is you have to qualify for a mortgage. So you have to be a working member of society. Frank, just like you or I or anybody listening that is a homeowner, the underwriting process, 2 years of tax returns. You got to submit all your bank documents. You can't have a debt to income ratio that's too skewed. Those are our partner families have to meet those very same requirements. We have a partnership with First Bank that allows our families right now to enjoy a 3% interest rate. If you think about it, I think the market average is somewhere around 7 right now. But then also, our partner families have to put in a significant amount of what we call sweat equity. Depending on the family size, that could be up to 600 hours. And that could be out swinging a hammer, moving plywood, helping put the doors on, whatever it may be on their home. But also they can earn those hours by working on another partner family's home, or they can volunteer in our restores or right here at our admin site. So it is far from a reality that we give anything away. We are able to do what we do because there's people that need a hand up, and we can generate some revenue. And we have community partners that help us help our neighbors right here in Brunswick County.
And I think that's just so important for people to know because people do have that misconception. And, what the thing that big takeaway for me as I've learned more about Habitat is that the Habitat partner family has a lot of skin in the game. They're not just getting something for nothing. By the time they complete this process, they know they've earned something and they know they've been, whether it's working, as you said, on their own home or in your store or whatever, they've done something to help earn what they're getting. And then they also still have to pay the bill too. You mentioned that mortgage rate through First Bank. Is that fixed for the life of the mortgage?
Correct. Just like you or I, we get a mortgage rate the day that we sign. If we do a 30-year traditional, that's what our partner families have. And that mortgage, the day of signing, is 30% of their take-home income. We subsidize the rest through what we call a silent second mortgage. So depending on what that family can afford, we essentially pick up the difference, and that mortgage goes away over time. So the more time they spend in their house, that mortgage just goes away. Forgive me, I think it's at the 6-year mark is when we start knocking that down. So it's not free money, right? But if that family decides to sell that home, they have to pay back the second mortgage to us, just like they have to pay back the first mortgage to First Bank. But I think there's an important statistic to share, Frank. We've been in operation, as I shared, since 1993. We will build our 100th house this year. We'll start it this year. We'll complete it in calendar year 2026. In our history, we've had 3 partner families leave their home. And each of those 3 families were due to medical reasons. They could no longer live in their house. So the proof is in the pudding that the families that we accept into our program and help achieve home ownership, they're in it for the long haul.
That's an amazing statistic. I know this will air in a couple of weeks, but today is June the 16th, and you had a couple of, I believe, groundbreakings today, which I unfortunately was not able to attend. Talk about the community where those groundbreakings are being held, because I think that's something that's a significant milestone for your local chapter as well.
We are so proud of the neighborhood that we're building. So a couple years ago, we were afforded the opportunity on the open market to purchase a piece of land in Leland, back off of Old Fayetteville Road for some of your listeners that may be familiar. It's called Highland Hills Drive. And when we originally bought it, we thought we were going to be able to get a more denser footprint and fit more houses in there. But due to some zoning restrictions, We are building 10 houses in a community, and we're calling it Fuller Court, after one of the founders of Habitat for Humanity, Mildred Fuller. And the idea is that up until this point, we have purchased individual lots all over the county, just like someone like you or I, or the developers that want to purchase land and build houses on. And folks would have an opportunity to choose that when the time came. But what we think the future is being able to buy larger pieces of land. We understand it's going to be more expensive, and that's, we are all in, right? We will make it happen. But we had, for the first time in our existence, we had a triple groundbreaking. So we did three families at one time. All three families will be in that Leland neighborhood, and we just could not be more excited for that, Frank.
I think I don't know. There may be other chapters that have done this, but this is the first habitat subdivision, so to speak, that I've heard of. So, do you know if there are others in other jurisdictions, or are you guys the pioneer on that?
No, I wish we could say we're the pioneer. On the coast, certainly we are kind of leading that. Our friends across the river in Cape Fear Habitat, they're also building a community. It's a little different. Theirs is a little larger, and they're doing business a little differently. So we build to the family. They are building, and then the family will choose the house. So it's a little different. That's the good thing about Habitat is we do get some autonomy when it comes to the regions that we serve. But I would offer, I think we're definitely punching above our weight class when it comes to the amount that we are building in this county. When you look at a Wake County or Charlotte, Raleigh, they're obviously on a bigger scale, but we'll get there one day.
Well, I think the scale. Obviously, this is a large geographic county, but the population is not a Wake or a Mecklenburg anywhere near that at this point. And I think what you're doing certainly is having an impact. And anybody who follows the real estate market here has seen which direction the prices have gone. I mean, you've got a high demand for something that's in low supply, and the prices have gone through the roof. And
Correct.
about a year ago, my wife and I we've got a home we love, but we just decided to look around for curiosity. And there were neighborhoods on what was farmland 10 years ago that the lots cost as much as we paid for our house, just a vacant
Right.
piece of dirt. And
Right.
it is increasingly challenging for everyday working people to find somewhere to live here. So I think what you're doing is certainly helping meet that need. I know one of the people you recently had an event for is a law enforcement officer, and that's
That's
someone
right.
who is serving and protecting us every day. And I think this is a great way to give back to them. I want to change gears and talk a little bit about how people in Brunswick County can help you. And I'll share a couple of thoughts. I've dropped off a couple of pieces of furniture at your Leland Restore, and I've
Yes.
also left there with a couple of pieces of furniture that I purchased, one nice couch and a small desk. So that's one thing that I would encourage people go to that store because there are some really good finds in there on a given day. I did learn that they don't stick around long because I looked at a nice corner cabinet one day and went back the next day and it was long gone.
That's
It was
right.
out of there and in somebody's house. But I found a nice little couch that's now at my dad's house, a small desk. So there are lots of good things there. Um, but other than donating or buying things at your restores, well, let's talk about what kind of things do you accept there besides the things that I've just mentioned. What do you accept and what would you not accept as far as donations?
I think it's easier to highlight what we don't accept than the list of what we do accept. If it's something that is broken or you wouldn't want anymore because it's not usable, it's also not usable to us. We unfortunately we don't accept any sort of used baby items, and that's a safety issue, right? We don't want to sell a car seat or a stroller or something that may malfunction or hurt a child. We don't accept any sort of food items. We don't accept any clothing. Used mattresses, obviously. Unfortunately, we don't want your used mattresses. um, yeah, but pretty much anything else, as long as it's usable and in working order, we will most likely take it and turn around and sell it. And you made a very good point. We turn product very quickly. So if you happen to be in our store and you see something you want, and this isn't just me trying to generate more revenue, but if you see something you want, I strongly recommend you grab it because it will most likely be gone.
I can attest to that from firsthand experience. And I
Yeah.
remember on the day of your ribbon cutting for the store, there were some ladies in line that wanted y'all to stop talking so they could go in and shop. I mean, I remember that they were like,
That's
I
right.
didn't come here to hear speeches. I came here to shop."
That's right.
And I
I love it.
appreciated the sentiment, and they were excited, and they left with some full trunks, from
Yes.
what I
Yes.
could gather. But yeah, there's some very good items at the store, and for those items you don't take, like let's say food, Brunswick Family Assistance will certainly
That's right.
accept non-perishable food.
That's
And
right.
aren't there some other thrift stores that would accept clothing in the county?
There certainly are others in the county that will accept clothing. I don't want to give them a free plug, but they are out there.
I understand that, but that's the thing. After they drop off the other things at your store, then you can tell them where to take the clothing.
That's right. We will certainly, if there's an item that we don't accept, our staff in our stores will certainly give you some ideas on where to take your stuff.
And I just think that's one obvious great way to help is if you need something, you're going to find it. You may find a great item a whole lot more affordably at a Habitat store than you're going to find it brand new. And I know a couple of years ago we ordered a new couch and it took 6 months for it to come in.
Yeah,
And there's some really good furniture that comes in and out of your Habitat store.
absolutely.
So apart from that, what else can people do to help you guys, and how would you encourage them to reach out if they want to help?
Great question. So, kind of the hub for us is going to be through our website, brunswickcountyhabitat.org, where you can do a simple Google search, Brunswick County Habitat for Humanity. If you would like to volunteer with us, which we would love to have you volunteer, the first step is filling out some information on that website, and then someone from our team will reach out to you. But when we talk about different ways to support, um, we have opportunities for everybody. As long as you're 16 or over, 18 for the job site, you could conceivably come out and work on a job site one day. And we have it set up where you can do that a half day, so you have a little bit more control, right? We recognize that everybody's schedule is not wide open for a whole day. So we're very flexible when it comes to that. We do a really good job of, prior to someone signing up, we will have the opportunities on our website, and what that opportunity is. So it won't just say construction. It'll say, today we're putting on siding, or we're putting in flooring or cabinets. So if that's something you're good at, or maybe something you want to learn about, that's the time to do it. We also have volunteer opportunities in all three of our restores, as we've talked about. So anything from sorting donations to pricing donations, moving stuff out onto the floor, etc. That's certainly another way that's maybe a little more low impact, right? I wouldn't want to be out on a job site today swinging a hammer. I'd probably wither away to nothing. So those are air conditioned.
Because it is hot out there.
It is very hot. Um, and then we have opportunities for serving on committees, if that's something you're interested in. Serving as a mentor. Each of our partner families has a mentor assigned to them. There's opportunities in our administrative office, and it could be anything from helping us decorate for an upcoming event to sorting paperwork, administrative types of things, right? But I think it's important to note we are interested in finding the right opportunity for a volunteer, not just, hey, you would love to volunteer, great, come do this. We really want to know what is your motivation, and what are you good at, what are you interested in, because the last thing we want is to have a volunteer leave and go, they just had me straighten out paper clips for an hour. I don't like paper clips, right? So we try to be very cognizant of that. And the last piece I would offer, Frank, obviously we generate revenue through multiple sources, but our growth has been explosive. I have a vision that we can build 100 houses a year. And I'll tell you that I have the team that is poised to do it. But the thing that is holding us back, to be fully transparent, is dollars. So, I would offer to your listeners that even down to $1, every dollar helps, right? Um, Affordability of land, affordability of housing, it just continues to become harder and harder. Prices are going higher and higher. Therefore, when we talk about affordable housing, it's harder and harder for us to build an affordable product. And what offsets that so our families can afford it and we can continue to build at the pace I want to, it takes money. So if your listeners are interested, we would love to realize donations that way, and all the way up to the corporate level. My job, Frank. Yes, I get to serve as executive director, and that is the organization is my job. but my real job is education and advocacy. So if there's someone's listening who says, hey, maybe we'd love to be a corporate partner, or we'd love to do a build day, or you're a church and you'd like to learn how to get more involved with our faith relations team, I would love to come out and spend 5, 10, 15, a half hour, whatever it is, talking to those folks about how they can support us, because that's the future. The more folks that understand what we do and understand that every dollar you spend with our nonprofit stays right here in Brunswick County, it doesn't go anywhere else. We don't support any other county, maybe in the future, but right now it's only Brunswick County. And the fourth way, Frank, we have events all the time. We just had a pickleball tournament this weekend. It was our first ever. Even though it rained a little bit,
A little bit.
they still got it in. And I think we're going to do 2 a year. So there's that. We have a golf tournament coming up the end of September. That's a big one for us. But the first step I would encourage, Frank, is for any of your listeners who maybe haven't been able to experience what is a groundbreaking or what is a wall blessing or a home dedication. If you go to our website and sign up, you can get our weekly email blast. And it's not a lot. We're not going to spam you, but it's literally just an email from me on Fridays that talks about what's happened this week and what's coming up next week. So I would say sign up for that, keep your eye on it. And that'll give you a really good idea of how you can contribute should you want to.
Obviously, people can contribute time, they can contribute money. Are there any goods and services that you could use for the actual builds as opposed to people donating to the store? For example, if XYZ brick company or builder had supplies they wanted to donate, how does that work, or can you accept those?
100% we can accept those. We have a community partner. One that comes to mind is Mansfield Sales and Service down on Oak Island. I can't tell you what a great meeting we had with Matt and his team a couple months ago. And he said, Jason, we want to donate 2 HVAC systems for 2 houses. That's huge, right? That
Nice.
helps us keep our costs down. There's a direct impact. So that's a community partner that understands what we're doing and wants to be part of the solution. We have community partners like that, but the answer is yes. We have 3 general contractors that hold their license on staff. So we could build everything. We couldn't build at the pace that we want to if we didn't have outside partners. So anybody, you name it, if it has to do with the building process, we would love to have a conversation with someone in the community if they want to support that.
I'm assuming they should reach out to you through the website if they are interested in that.
Absolutely. If you go to the website, you'll be able to get us through there. My email is on that website. You will get a response. I promise you that. We are not an organization where your question or your comment goes into the black hole. We believe that we need to leave this place better than we found it, and you better believe that if someone in this community wants to support us, you will hear from us.
Let's change gears a little bit. When I first met you a few years ago, you were in an entirely different role than this. How did you wind up in this role in this position?
really, really good question. So 2014, my wife, who grew up in Brunswick County, we were living in DC, and she said, I want to go home. So I took that opportunity. When we moved down here, I started a business, which led to starting another business and then an acquisition. Anyway, about 5 years ago, I sold those businesses, and I had started to serve on the board of Habitat at that point. I had met someone we know, Councilwoman Veronica Carter, fellow veteran, and she came to me one day and I said, I'm looking for somewhere to give some time and energy to, and she introduced me to Habitat, and it felt like a really great fit. So, long story short, once I sold that business, I took a job with the federal government for a couple of years, and our executive director decided that it was time for him to retire. And I served in an interim role as executive director for a couple of weeks. And it was almost immediately clear, Frank, that this was where I should be. As a veteran, right, mission is very important. I need to have a mission, and I need to be able to serve others and give back. And it was very apparent that I got to scratch the itch of running a business, right? We're valued at about $10 million when you look at assets. We run a couple $1 million a year budget. So I've got 40 folks across multiple pieces of the organization. I really enjoy that piece of it. But also, as we've talked about, we are making a difference in our county. And that is even more important to me. I think that we have a responsibility when we have skills or whatever it may be. Let's say you're a carpenter or you're really good at making websites or, whatever it is. I think that we have a responsibility to give back because let's be honest, Frank. Neither you or I would be here if somebody hadn't helped us along the way in some fashion, right? So that's how I look at this. That's how my team looks at this. And we want to continue to make an impact right here in Brunswick County through affordable housing.
To me, it was interesting seeing that transition from what you did before to being on the board to being director, and it is clear that you have a passion for what you do. I mean, anybody who's around you for more than about 20 seconds will pick that up. Kind of obvious, but well, to start to close it out, I love for people to hopefully learn something from every time they listen. And obviously, you've been through a few different things in your career, starting with military service, and thank you for that service. What
Um,
have you learned during your career that you wish you had known on day one when you got out of high school?
Boy, um, I think, if I could go back to that day, two things I would offer to my younger self. I would say be patient. It'll all work itself out. You're not in control. We are a ministry, right? We're a 501c nonprofit, but Habitat for Humanity is a ministry, and we are doing God's work. And I wish I would have realized that at a much younger age. Just relax, slow down. There is a plan. Keep moving forward. And the second thing, it sounds so simple to most people, but I don't think we all do a very good job of it. I know I certainly didn't. And that's listen. Listen to people. Whether it's, when I had the landscape supply business, we grew because we listened to the customers. You hear enough customers say, I need X, Y, or Z, you bring it on, you build it, you grow it. And with what we're doing now, there's so much happening in this county. You talked about it at the beginning. We live in such a beautiful place. There are so many people that want to be part of the solution. Sometimes we just have to slow down and listen to them. We got two of these for a reason, right? Um, I think that's probably the number one most important thing is just listen to people. They'll tell you what they need or how they're feeling or how you can help them. I think that's important.
I think those are two good pieces of advice. And when we're younger, none of us want to slow down. We want to try to do everything at once. And a couple of related lessons that I've learned are focus on what I can control, not what I cannot control.
That's
There's
right.
something that I can't impact. Don't worry about it. Focus on what I can affect.
That's right.
And I saw a great quote said, "You can do anything, but you can't do everything."
That's right.
And I think figuring out where to focus your time and energy, and I think you've certainly shown to do that. And then listening to people who have been there and done that because they've probably made the mistake that they want to help you avoid.
That's right.
And it's when I was younger, I used to think that I wasn't going to make those mistakes that those other people had made, but guess what? I did.
That's right.
And a lot of them would sit back and say, "I told you so."
That's right.
I had someone a few years ago give me a piece of advice, and it was so simple but so profound. They said, "Slow down and take the time to see what's coming around the curve before you run into it." And that was a general statement about an organization I was in, but it's also just great about life. Don't if you go too far, you're gonna run headlong into something you could have avoided. And
That's
I
right.
think that's well. The final question, and this is one that I love to ask, and I think you may have some good answers on this. But what either books do you read or types of podcasts do you listen to improve yourself, or just for entertainment? What do you do as far as those types of things?
Entertainment's a hard one for me, Frank. As you know, I've got my fingers in a lot of pots, so I tend to work. Fitness is very important to me. I think that's what keeps the engine going, so I can do what I do. And then spending time with my daughter is right up there, and that kind of fills out my days. Um, when it comes to podcasts, so uh, I know you're going to find this really hard to believe. Our buddy Jocko Willink, I love to listen to his podcast. Joe Rogan has some really good folks on there. Lex Friedman has a really good podcast. So you might find me listening to one of those three sometimes. When I'm really when I really need some motivation, I just put David Goggins on repeat in my head and go tackle the world. When it comes to books, I am a ferocious reader. I love to read. It's been something that's always been important to me. Types of books all over the place. I like to read. I don't tend to read fiction. Right now, I'm kind of on a history kick. Just recently finished a book about medieval torture tactics. It caught my eye in the bookstore. What can I say?
I've got a book on Army manual on hand-to-hand combat that I picked up at
Yeah,
the store.
it was a good mix. But there's one book, Frank, that I was introduced to when I was in grad school at Hopkins by one of our professors who happened to be a retired CIA guy, and he introduced me to a book called "It's Your Ship," and it was written by a Navy commander. And I think it's a really good reminder about how to do the simple things in life right, and take ownership of what you have going on. So you talked about it a few minutes ago, our circle of influence, right? A lot of people worry about things that are just so far outside of their control. But if you can master your bubble and be the best at what you can influence, you will succeed. And It's Your Ship was just a good reminder. So I would recommend that to your listeners. So,
Probably be ordering that within 10 minutes of us concluding this podcast. And
yeah.
and was there anything else you want to share before we close it out?
Frank, just thank you for this opportunity. I recognize we're a little different than your normal guests, but I'm grateful for this opportunity. I want to remind folks that we are out here. We're doing work. I have a very aggressive approach to how we do this. I want to, 3, 4 years ago, Frank, we were building 3 houses a year. We're going to build 9 this year. I want to do 10 next year. I just want to keep that going. So I would encourage folks to sign up for our newsletter, volunteer should you feel so moved to do so. Follow us on our social media channels. We do a lot of our information sharing that way. And it may not be, the events, it may just be something special we've got happening. But those are kind of the main things. Just want to remind folks that, I think we all have that responsibility to leave this place better than we found it. We live in an absolutely beautiful place. Frank, I have had the pleasure of traveling all over this world. There's not many continents I haven't set foot on. And we live in a very, very special place. And while it is growing and while there are more friends coming to enjoy it with us, we all have that responsibility to make sure that we all progress in the right way and that we leave it better than we found it. One day, my daughter is going to be here, and this is where she's going to graduate high school. I want her to enjoy the same Brunswick County that you and I have come to enjoy.
Thank you for your service as a veteran, and thank you for your leadership of Habitat, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We greatly appreciate it. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app, thank you for tuning in. If you don't currently follow us, you can do so on our website, capefearbusiness.com. We have links to our profiles on every podcast platform, and you can also sign up to receive email notifications when new episodes drop. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you next week.